Hey everyone, it's Johnny from RPO Bay Hockey to give you another video, and today's video is going to be another I was wrong video, and I've always said it on this channel. I'll be the first one to call myself out. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong, and today's video is going to be I was wrong about Leon Draisaitl. So before I get into it and kind of explain why I was wrong and what I was wrong about, please do subscribe to the channel for either more Oilers content or more hockey content in general with other teams. And please smash that like button to get this video more out on YouTube, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Leon Draisaitl? And based on my opinion and how I was wrong, leave those thoughts in the comment section below. So I think for Leon Draisaitl, I want to get it started with, I was not wrong about his contract. At the very start, when Leon Draisaitl signed his 8-year, $8.5 million per contract, I felt like I was on an island alone. I was defending that contract. I thought that contract was really going to pan out for Leon Draisaitl and the Edmonton Oilers. I thought at the time it was very fair. Now it's looking like a steal for the Oilers, but I thought it was very fair. I thought this guy was going to put up 70, 80 points. I thought with the cap going up in the future, I was like, I think this is going to be a very good contract. And obviously now he's looking like a guy that can put up 90, 100, 110 points. Currently 110 points in 71 games, which is absolutely insane. You're talking about over a 1.5 points per game. So I wasn't wrong about the contract. I was defending that. I was getting ripped to shreds even by Oilers fans on that contract. Another thing I wasn't wrong about, I never once ever said that Draisaitl couldn't do it without McDavid. I never once said that. I never said Draisaitl was only a good player because of McDavid. I never said that Draisaitl relied on McDavid. I never said any of that. Did I say at one point that maybe Draisaitl's numbers were being boosted by McDavid? 100%. If you're playing with a guy like Connor McDavid, your numbers are going to improve. That has nothing to do with how good or bad the player is that's playing with McDavid. A fourth liner, Zach Kassian, is, in my opinion, a third line guy. And when he plays with Connor McDavid, he looks like a top six forward. So that's just the example I would leave. But for Leon Draisaitl, he's a first line player. And when he plays like the way he's playing, he looks like one of the stars of the league. But obviously, if he's playing with Connor McDavid, both of them are going to look like the absolute superstars, best duo in the league. And honestly, even if they're separated, they arguably could be listed as the two best players in the league right now. I mean, they are the top two in points. Connor McDavid, 97 in 64 games, and Leon Draisaitl, 110 in 71. So they're 7 games apart. That's obviously come with McDavid's injury. I do want to get into what I was wrong about, and it was this. So I'll pull up the clip, and this is what I was wrong about.
Do you think if he can go, there's still lots of games we played without McDavid, do you think if he can go on a tear, he can set himself apart as the Hart leader? Because I mean, he is showing Draisaitl, yeah. He's showing he can.
Whoa!
If the
what
Oilers,
is going on here?
If the Oilers are still
went from hot take to a different kind of level here.
I didn't see this coming, so I got to
Welcome to Inferno Take Hockey.
So I was wrong about Leon Draisaitl and the Hart conversation. I should mention later in that video, I talked about I think he would get votes. And at that very moment, that was probably I think that was the day after McDavid's injury got announced, that he was going to be out for 2 weeks. And I said he was going to get votes, and I probably had Draisaitl in around 5 and 6. I had McDavid in around 4 or the 3 spot for my heart. I had McDavid actually ahead of Draisaitl. I just thought offensively and just how he was carrying that offense, I thought McDavid was the guy. And obviously Draisaitl had more points, 100%. But I did think I saw Draisaitl's numbers on the power play, and I thought McDavid driving on his own line while the Draisaitl, Yamamoto, Nugent Hopkins line was forming. I thought that brought a lot of success. And I do want to mention that. I think, as much as now I'll admit, I think Draisaitl is definitely top 3 in the Hart conversation. I would have him ahead of McDavid, and I'm going to list the reasons why I would have him ahead of McDavid. But I think, besides Draisaitl being potentially the most valuable to this team, I would say that line was the most valuable and has been the most valuable for this team. Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Nugent Hopkins. When that line formed, the Oilers were going through major inconsistencies, and that has, I would say, come up a little more. And obviously they were in that first spot in the Pacific, and now the Vegas Golden Knights have taken that over. But I think that line has been insanely valuable. I mean, 5-on-5, the matchups that they take on, since that line is formed, I feel like the matchups have increased in difficulty for that line. and for Leon Draisaitl, and he's still found success. So obviously that comes with playing with better players, and he's found a lot of time this year playing with Nugent Hopkins. But I think that has come with it. So I just want to go over, I don't want to miss anything. So this was at the time, I listed this in around the time that McDavid got injured. I think it was like a week after McDavid came back. So McDavid only ended up being out for, I think, a week and a half, right? It was maybe half a dozen games, a week and a half. And at that time, Draisaitl had 95 points in 59 games. So jump that up to 71 games now, 12 games later, 110. So 15 points in 12 games. That's still absolutely insane. But he dropped from, I think it was like a 1.61 points per game to a 1.54 points per game. So that was with McDavid coming back. So Draisaitl stepped up to the plate when McDavid was out. And then McDavid was, I think the gap was bigger, obviously, and he went from a 1.47 points per game to now he's at a 1.51 points per game. So not a huge difference. 13 points back, 7 games of a difference from obviously the 64 games played by McDavid and the 71 played by Draisaitl. So up to you guys. I'll leave that to you. McDavid, I think there's a real possibility he could get those 13 points made up in 7 games, but obviously you can't just assume that. So let's say offensively, McDavid and Draisaitl, if they were playing full seasons, they would probably have around the same production. I would say, I don't know the exact calculation right now, but let's say if it was an 82-game season, based on these numbers, Draisaitl would finish with 120 points. Let's just say that, or 125 points. McDavid would probably only be a few behind that. 120, 125, that's probably what, I think the difference here, and that's where it would probably finish at, the difference here is the defensive numbers and the defensive responsibilities Draisaitl's had to face this season. And this is why I was maybe a little ignorant to that, and I was just looking at the offensive side of things. I really was ignoring the defensive matchups and the defensive, obviously, responsibilities Draisaitl has faced, especially on the PK. Like, earlier in the season, I thought the combination of McDavid playing with a guy like Archibald, I mean, that was throughout the whole season, and Cassian, like guys like that, as well as facing tough matchups, that's why I had McDavid for that first half in top 3 for Hart. I thought with the line mates he was getting and the production he was putting up, and the fact that the Oilers were a top 2 spot in the Pacific Division, I thought Draisaitl was a little behind McDavid, but I thought both of them were in the conversation. Obviously, combining the fact that Draisaitl realized with more of those difficult matchups on top of the heavy PK minutes he was getting. And then obviously his numbers were being inflated by the power play. Anyone can look at those numbers. He was I think he still is, but for a long time, he was number 1 for assists on a power play. So I think this was the big thing. Yes, he's been an inconsistent offensive player from the start of his career till now. And then now he's been getting more matchups, and Dave Tippett's been giving him more responsibility and trusting him more. And he is a minus player right now. And I think that is the biggest thing, and I would say the biggest critique for a lot of people. He is in the minus. And that just comes with the responsibilities. He's getting the tougher matchups, especially with the line. When that line formed, Tippett had that trust that line could face tougher matchups and let McDavid do his thing, right? And Draisaitl was still finding success, and Nugent Hopkins has been going off. Yamamoto has been crazy since he stepped on the scene. So at that time, I think it's gone down a little bit at that time as I was doing that and doing a little bit of research. Draisaitl was a minus 10. So that's a little concerning. But again, the time he was facing and the PK time, just in general, obviously numbers are going to go down for him defensively. I think I'm just trying to look over my other notes. Draisaitl, and this was at the time, I don't know the exact number now, 22.33 minutes per game. So he was going nuts on minutes. And I think that went up after the McDavid injury, obviously. He was playing for a lot of games there, 24, 25 minutes a night, which is absolutely insane. We're talking about 24, 25. He was playing more than defensemen, which is crazy. And then I just think overall why I'm wrong about that, because now as I sit here, I would say Draisaitl is, if this season was to end, I would say he's number 2. Everyone needs to chill out, Oilers fans. I still can't see how he is number 1 over a guy like McKinnon, or if the Rangers were to make the playoffs, I still don't see Draisaitl winning for this. I think Draisaitl, if he was to win, I would not think he's undeserving. I think he's very deserving of being in the category, and if he was to win, I would be like, he deserved it. He paved his way. But the biggest thing is you heard me say it. The second guy in points in the league is McDavid. You make up those 7 games, and I get people, oh, the games didn't happen. You can't say what if. I will say if. If they did happen, and he wasn't out for that week and a half, you talk about 7 games made up, they would, in terms of offense, they would be right there. And the thing for me is McDavid's also not getting those line mates, and he's also not getting the responsibilities. He's not really given that opportunity because he's the offense. Tippett wants him to be the offense. Tippett wants him to drive the team on the offense and have that energy for the offense and have that energy for the power play. Draisaitl, I think Draisaitl's just a little more of a tank. And you see Draisaitl, honestly, sometimes a lot more tired. I mean, on the back check sometimes, and I think that's where sometimes it catch up to Draisaitl. But he's getting those tougher matchups, and he is allowing McDavid to do that. So I think that's why it gives him the more MVP kind of category, because if not for Draisaitl, McDavid probably wouldn't be doing what he's doing. And Draisaitl's still putting up those offensive numbers. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And but I'm also looking at McKinnon. McKinnon has been in around like a 30 to 40 point gap for a lot of this season to the next point producer on the Avalanche. McKinnon went down, and the injuries were like mounting up for the Avalanche, and they started to struggle a little bit. I think for me, McKinnon's my favorite because I don't think the Avalanche would be in a top division spot if not for him. Rantanen's been out. Kadri's been out. Yes, I think the Avalanche have still strung a few wins here and there, even with McKinnon not producing for a game or two. But that's because the Avalanche are a deep team. But if you do take McKinnon out of that lineup, and that's the biggest thing for me on that perspective, if you take McKinnon out of the lineup, that Avalanche team, when you saw it, they struggle. If you take Draisaitl, like you saw with McDavid, but reverse, if you take Draisaitl out for a couple weeks, does that, I mean, again, the team definitely struggles, but you still have Connor McDavid, arguably the best player in the league. They would still struggle with Draisaitl, but we're talking about a couple weeks versus McKinnon, who doesn't have Rantanen, who doesn't have Kadri already. If he goes down, who do the Avalanche have on that offense? Landeskog's not leading you into the playoffs, I can tell you that. So I think that was the perspective for me. If the Rangers were to make the playoffs, yes, the Benejad's there, but come on, Artemi Panarin. I think he would have to be either the favorite or definitely in that top 3 with Draisaitl and McKinnon. So if the Rangers, and if we went to the playoffs, I kind of want to shut this video down so it's not too long and a lot of you can watch everything. Draisaitl is definitely in that top 3, but if the Rangers were to make the playoffs and McKinnon was to come back and have a strong end of the season, or regardless, I mean, now with this ending and us being in the break, if they were just going to the playoffs, I still think McKinnon should be number 1 or number 2. So I'm not saying Draisaitl is not deserving. I am wrong, and I was wrong. Draisaitl is definitely a Hart candidate. He's a serious Hart candidate. I never said Draisaitl wasn't a good player, but it does really, I don't know, it surprises me a little bit to see how much he's stepping up. And I've always loved Draisaitl. I've loved him since he was drafted. I think he was a little slow. And I think obviously for some comparisons, like, yeah, he was a slow developer, and it's not really a situation to be comparing Draisaitl to a guy like Matthews or like other younger players in the league, because Draisaitl's a little older. So, I don't know. McDavid was drafted in 2015, and since then he's just been consistent, and other than his injury in his first year. So, for me, I think I don't like the nonsense of seeing Oilers fans saying that they might want to choose Draisaitl over McDavid if it was you have to choose one of them. The only defense there is that Draisaitl obviously has the better contract, 8.5 per versus McDavid's 12 million AAV. So McDavid is the best player in the league. I think McDavid is overall, if I had to choose, more valuable to the team. But this year, Draisaitl's been more valuable. His overall responsibility, and we'll have to wait and see, because this is Draisaitl's full. I mean, last year was offensively. This year is just his overall game. He's still in the minus. He still has struggles in different aspects. He does have the better line mates. There is scenarios here where you look at and be like, okay, there is reasons this is happening, but it is also Draisaitl on his own that is making crazy things happen and happen on his own, and he has become the most valuable player to the Oilers this year. Going forward, that remains to be seen. I think McDavid, like I said, is the best player in the league, and I do think that as he develops as a player, he's younger, he's going to grow defensively as well, And I think that's why Draisaitl is getting a lot of more matchups too. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think. I went a little longer than I wanted to, but that's okay. Hopefully you enjoyed. Yeah, subscribe, smash that like button, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. This was John from Hot Take Hockey. I was wrong about Leon Draisaitl. There you go. Peace out.